Voting is more than just a right, it's a powerful tool for change. Every vote counts and every voice matters. Voting protects your rights and helps to build a better future. And it's a way to hold our leaders accountable. Voting isn't just about the big elections either. Local elections impact our daily lives. It is important to study the candidates and the issues in order to make an informed decision. Election 2024. Don't sit it out. Your vote is your power. PR Connections Radio presents.
Well, I guess you can be very successful without one, and probably some people do. But I would not have accomplished anywhere near what I have accomplished without a mentor. I have had a number of mentors, and my whole life has changed dramatically. I went from going nowhere to having a business that operates all over the world. If you want to win in a big way, you want to get a mentor. It's almost like getting a direct pipeline from their mind to your mind, where you're gaining all their wisdom, all their experience, and all the studying that they've done over a number of years. And like that, you get it all in a short period of time. Are mentors important? Well, I'm going to tell you, mentors literally changed the course of my life. Let's take a look at what thinking into results is and what it could do for you, how it came about. You see, my life had changed dramatically. I went from earning nothing to earning over $1 million a year. And I was sitting one day and I was thinking, how did all this happen? Do you know, I was reading Think and Grow Rich. I was studying Earl Nightingale's material. But a lot of people have read those books and studied Earl's material. And they weren't accomplishing what I was accomplishing. So I had to ask myself, what am I doing so different? You see, I had been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I was earning over $1 million a year, and I didn't think I was that bright. I was also raised to believe if you don't go to school, you can't win. Well, I hadn't gone to school. I went to high school for about 2 months. I didn't have a good job. I owned the entire company. If you want to be happy, healthy, and prosperous, it's all here. Thinking into results is going to show you how to get it. If what I've said really triggered something in your mind and you're thinking maybe, contact the certified PGI consultant, hit the button, leave the information, do yourself a favor, sit down and talk to them about what this program can do for you. This very well could be the decision that will change the rest of your life.
Hi there, everybody. Sid Maestre here, certified consultant with Procter Gallagher in our premier program, Thinking in the Results. You just saw Bob on the screen. Bob studied a little book called Think and Grow Rich for over 50 years. And this program, Thinking in the Results, is a culmination of what he'd been teaching. And today we want to talk about the Mastermind. And the Mastermind is a very unique animal. It's not just a meeting. It's a planned group, 2 to 8 people that agree to meet on a regular basis. Let's say weekly is best. And they can do it in person. They can do it online, which we're doing so much Zooming these days. And you have a time limit. And normally it'd be 60 minutes. And when you start your meeting, if you have 8 people, everybody's got a number, and that's their number for the mastermind. And each week that you do it, a different person would be the leader. And at the beginning, you're going to share your wins for the week, 2-minute wins. I sort of jumped ahead of myself there because I'm going to bring on my guest, John Gage, who's a trained voice actor and been a student for a number of years of Thinking Results in the Procter Gallagher teaching. And John Gage and I are going to share. John, there you are.
I'm here, yes.
With your big smile. I want to share the mastermind principle that is read, the members read each time they meet. Do you have yours handy there? Okay, we've got 7 principles here and a dedication and covenant. And John and I are going to read this together. And number 1 is, I release.
I release myself to the mastermind because I am strong when I have others to help me.
Okay. My friends, this is the first time we didn't practice this.
That's
I said,
right.
let's read this together.
Well,
And I thought we're going to say the title. Let's do that one again. Together we say, I release.
I believe.
Myself. Okay. So we got 2 I releases.
He said read the titles, so I'm following your order. You haven't been bold.
Speak. We're going to say I release twice.
Okay.
Principle number 1, I release. You're supposed to say it with me, John.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's start over.
I hope you're having as much fun as we are.
I
Okay,
am.
here we go.
I'm
Number 1.
having ball.
Okay, John. Number 1, I release.
I release.
Can we say it together?
Uh-huh.
Okay. You start then.
Okay. Number 1, I release.
Release.
I release myself to the mastermind because I am
Because I am
strong
strong.
when I have others to help.
Me. I believe.
I believe.
I believe.
I believe. Well, I'm following your lead.
Okay. I believe. Can you say it as I say it? I believe the combined intelligence of the mastermind
Creates a wisdom far beyond my own.
We're going to read this statement.
Man, it's getting dark here.
Simultaneously.
It started raining. Everybody says Florida. Oh, the rain is a myth. No. It got so dark, I had to turn my light on.
Okay.
I'm having trouble reading it. Okay. So now I can read it now.
I want to start at the beginning, so
Okay.
we're smooth. I will state the principle, and then together we're going to read it simultaneously. Number 1 is I release. I release myself to the mastermind because I am strong when
I have others to help me.
Yes. Oh, you can't read. Is it too dark for you to read what's written?
I can read it now. I was having trouble reading it before.
Okay.
I'm just trying to keep up with you.
Okay. Well, speak up. Well, speak a little louder because I'm listening to you. And I have a hard time hearing you. Okay. Now, I believe the combined intelligence of the mastermind
creates a wisdom far beyond my own.
Okay. Let's try the third one, and you're going to read it naturally.
Okay.
While we're reading, we'll get in sync. Number 3 is I understand. I understand that I will more easily create positive results in my life when I'm open to looking at myself, my problems, and opportunities from another point of view. Thank you. Number 4 is I decide. I decide to release my desire totally and trust to the mastermind, and I am open to accepting new possibilities. Okay. We're just going to read them and not worry about this. Worry about being in sync here.
Okay.
Number 5 is I forgive. I forgive myself for mistakes I have made. I also forgive others who have hurt me in the past, so I can move into the future with a clean slate. Okay. I ask. Number 6, I ask. I ask the mastermind to hear what I really want, my goals, my dreams, and my desires, And I hear my mastermind partners supporting me in my fulfillment. Very good. Seventh one is I accept. I know, relax and accept, believing that the working power of the mastermind will respond to my every need. I'm grateful knowing this is so. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
I'm going to let you read the dedication and covenant.
The dedication covenant. I never received that from you.
It's the bottom of it. Oh, you didn't get the bottom portion?
I did not receive the bottom portion.
Oh. Well, then I get the pleasure of reading it myself.
I get the pleasure of reading it. Absolutely.
Yes. Next time I'll see that you have a copy because you've got the voice. I now have a covenant in which it is agreed that the mastermind shall supply me with an abundance of all things necessary to live a success-filled and happy life. I dedicate myself to be of maximum service to the world and my fellow human beings, to live in a manner that will set the highest example for others to follow, and to remain an open channel of God's will. I go forth with a spirit of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. Amen.
Absolutely.
Well, let's.
That was fun.
Well, it was. So
and part of it, right, Sid? Part of reading it together is like doing a kind of a creed, so everybody's kind of in sync by the time they're done. And if you notice, by the time we were done, we were actually in sync with what we were saying.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to catch up.
Hey, a slow learner.
Oh, well, let's share with our onlookers to a couple of examples of I want to say masterminds that people didn't know they were masterminding, but they were functioning. And John, you got a great story on Henry Ford.
Oh yeah, actually, and a lot of people don't know this. Henry Ford, the car mogul of forever, he's the guy who created the cars and created the V8. That power engine that all men like to hear when they start, like my truck. When I start that V8, that puppy is like, yeah, baby. And that motor wasn't always in existence, and it almost didn't happen. But Henry Ford, it took, I forget, it was either 12 or 18 months to accomplish this. But like the 6-month mark, his scientists were coming to him going, dude, we can't do this. This is impossible. He's like, nope, sorry. I want it. I'll have it. Go back and figure it out. They come back to him in another few more months. He's like, we're trying. We still can't. He says, no, I will have it. Go figure it out. And eventually they did. And now we have the V8. We've got the V12. And now these are engines that are just typical. We've got jet engines. We've got all these engines that came from this one motor, essentially. And he essentially forced his scientists to have a mastermind, because the way I understand a mastermind is it's one issue that needs a resolution. So all of these scientists are working on one engine, a V8. Okay, well, let's try this. That didn't work. Okay, well, we tried this. It didn't work. Here's my idea. What's your idea? And Sid goes, well, I've got this idea. And then scientist number 3 says, well, I've got this idea. And scientist number 4 says, well, I've got this idea. Scientist number 5 goes, you know what? If we take scientists 3 and 4 and we kind of combine it a little bit and do this, maybe that'll work better. And eventually, doing that, they came up with the V8. It wasn't called a mastermind. I think they called it a meeting of the minds at the time. I think that's the term. I'm not 100% sure, but but a mastermind is something that when you say we're going to have a mastermind, What do you think of, Sid, when I say, hey, Sid, we need to sit down and we need to have a mastermind and we need to figure out how to hit a golf ball 560 yards? You know, so we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about that one thing because we want to hit this golf ball 560 yards.
Well, John, we'd get a coach and the three of us would work together.
Right.
That would be our mastermind.
Exactly. We would have a mentor who would teach us how to do it. And then we would go, okay, yeah, but my swing isn't doing that. What do you think? What do you think, Sid? What do you think I need to do? And coach, what do you think I need to do? Oh, okay. Well, I think I can do this one better. Let me try that. And that's what a mastermind is. And a lot of people say, well, we're going to have a brainstorming situation. They think it's the same thing. And brainstorming is like what it's doing outside my window currently. It's very chaotic. It's a bunch of things happening at once. It's a bunch of ideas coming in, and you usually will take 3 or 4 of those ideas and say, okay, we're going to go with this, because it's usually, you know, like a business will say, well, we're going to have a brainstorming session because we need to know, you know, we need to kind of figure out what we're going to do for the next fiscal year. So we talk about, we come up with all these ideas. And that's a brainstorming session. And a lot of people confuse a brainstorming session with a mastermind. But a brainstorming session, you get, say, 4 ideas out of the brainstorming session. And then every week you have a mastermind session on one of those 4 issues. So you're rotating every 4 weeks. You're talking about that one issue to come up with a resolution. Like you said, with 2 to 8 people doing that and concentrating on that one issue, you're going to come up with a resolution. I think you talked about the Beatles in this thing, right?
You know, let me share the Beatles story. And normally you're not thinking of Mastermind and the Beatles, but years ago I watched a documentary, and it was 2 hours, and it was some years ago, and I only remember one thing about it, and that is they sat down purposefully to write a song 200 times. And they produced a song each time. Now, how many great ones? I don't know how many great ones, whether it's 40 or 50, but they have a great.
They had a lot of them.
Maybe the best group because they wrote their own music. But when they scheduled a session to get together, they were thinking about it. They were thinking about a song, some lyrics, whatever they came up with. And when they sat down, they would play them off each other and come out with a song because they all had talent.
One song.
Oh, John just said, yeah, they were committed to just get one song.
Yep.
And they were always able to come up with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with the mastermind, there is a single thing that everyone's working on.
Yeah.
They're thinking about it. We talked earlier about the difference between a meeting and a mastermind. And a mastermind is, I like to say, is in another paradigm. It's at the highest level of working together. And it has
we talked about brain vibration this whole time. It sets your brain vibration.
Your brain and your thoughts are things. Thoughts have energy, and thoughts have vibrations. Everything in the universe has vibration. Bob Proctor says we live in an ocean of motion because everything's vibrating. And a mastermind takes your thinking to a higher level, and you automatically respond to it. That's very important. And particularly if you got an organized mastermind, it's planned once a week. And during that week, you're thinking about what you're going to be talking about, what the issues are, have an agenda, and magic happens. I think John wants to talk about, there was another, in Think and Grow Rich was a book that Napoleon Hill is the author. And Napoleon Hill this is around 1908, sometime in that framework, that he was a cub reporter. He was ordered to interview Andrew Carnegie. who was the wealthiest man in the world at the time. And
Yeah.
he had a steel company. Actually, it was a trust, but he was the biggest steel manufacturer in the United States at that time. And when they met and he was being interviewed, he had the idea or the thought, there's a lot of successful people are they die and no one knows how they did what they did. And he said, I've got 500 people I'd like you to interview, all successful in their fields. And I'd like you to spend 20 years doing this project. And you'll have to support yourself. And so Napoleon Hill did that. And Andrew Carnegie took I'll just say a couple words, John, about the traditional steel. We're getting the ore, getting it on railroads, creating the steel, rolling it out, creating a product, people are selling it. Different companies were doing all of that. So, John, what did the genius of Andrew Carnegie do?
Well, see, the thing with Andrew Carnegie, he brought all these companies together. And when he was asked by Napoleon Hill if he knew anything about the company, he's like, nope. He says, well, then what's your job? He says, to ensure that they all get along. And what a lot of people don't realize is Andrew Carnegie was part of Henry Ford's Mastermind group. Him and Thomas Edison. So you're talking about some really smart people that would get together to solve issues. And Andrew Carnegie was very, hey, I brought these people together, but my job is to make sure they get along and function as one entity, essentially, to accomplish all of this. And look what he accomplished. I mean, mass production of steel transported all over the world. I mean, just all of this stuff that one person was able to bring together. And he didn't know anything about steel, but he did understand people.
Let me interject this for a moment. There are a lot of steel companies back in the 1880s, 1890s, going into the 1900s. And there were plants that made steel, but they had all their suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew Carnegie put his company and put it into a trust. And the term it was vertical. From getting the ore out of the ground to selling it to the consumer was all in, they said, well, let's use the term vertical. He had each step of the process and he had the best vendors. We call them vendors. He had the best ones. And he was number one. He had the biggest steel company through this trust.
Yeah, and he didn't know anything about steel. Right. Nothing.
And then one of his guys had the idea of going public.
That was Caldwell, wasn't it?
I'm sorry?
Caldwell? Wasn't it Caldwell?
No, Schwab.
Schwab, that's right.
No relation to the brokerage company.
No, but
they went to J.P. Morgan, who's a major financier in the country back at that time, and they wanted his support that they could bring a company public. And it became U.S. Steel.
Yeah, and they didn't they guarantee Carnegie. He had him. Schwab had him. Charles Schwab. It wasn't Charles Schwab, but Schwab had him write a figure down. It was like 300 million or 350 million.
Well, it was 400.
400. And when he was asked if he had any regrets about it, he says, "Yeah, I regretted it and asked for 100 million more." He said, "You would have got it."
The value of what he got and all his partners, the 50 partners, they all became millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And the public offering of selling the stock I think would have been $1 billion, or was it six? Or they sold it for 600?
It was 600, and yeah, I think they sold it for 600. I think the stocks were 8. I don't remember the exact figures, and I don't want, so if you look this up, guys, understand it. We're not sure on the exact figures, but it's somewhere in that range. It was hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, just short of $1 billion, I believe.
I know now. I realize what I was trying to put into words.
Mhm.
If you sold those individual companies, the value of the 50 different businesses, vendors supporting steel, as a standalone making those sales, it'd be X amount of dollars. But when they were all together into this trust to be one big company,
Right. And
they sold it for a lot more than they would have been sold individually.
And that's all because they came together and did minding, and put together a plan for making these businesses more profitable as a group. That's like the bundle of sticks story. If you can break one twig, but if you bundle them up, it's almost impossible to break them. This is the same concept, only with people, and it's a brilliant way of doing things. So
I believe they also, because they're bringing all these companies together into the one U.S. Steel, they didn't need 50 HR departments.
No, they didn't. So
much duplication.
Because I don't think HR was quite as big a deal back then as it is now. So,
but that just comes to mind.
So,
but that's the great example of the mastermind. Another one that comes to mind, I want to say recently, because this is 1970, 1980, but Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak created the Mac, the individual computer, and it was two guys in a garage.
Yep.
And as they built their company and put a team together, they were all working closely together to bring it public.
Yep.
And because you can't do it alone.
No.
It takes
a
team.
The more people you have that are like-minded, the more likely you are to succeed.
Another thought is I've seen studies where the different problems that startups fail, and one of them is having the right team. Often I've seen it where the ego of the founder wants to have control of everything in the areas they're not qualified. But you put a team together, and using the thinking and results program on the same page, they got the goal and supporting each other, and they're in sync. And it's not just the executives, but each department in the company from the get-go is really focused on what their mission is, their department aligned with the corporate goal. And I was telling someone the other day, I would never invest in a startup, whether it's $1. I don't have $1 million, but whatever it would cost, I would not want to invest in a startup that didn't have the whole team working the thinking and results program. So if you know a startup that wants to be increase their
exactly,
what's the right word? The potential of success.
The bottom line success, yeah.
So I'm just looking at our time now, and I think I'm going to have to let you go, John. And I want to thank you so much for sharing the mastermind with me and our guest online. And we'll talk next week, and we'll talk about the ABC goals. So I'll see you. So John's gone, and you see you can reach me, the website, sidmaestre.thinkingandresults.com. A lot of information there about the Thinking and Results program, and you can contact me, and we can set up a time to talk, and I can answer some of your questions. So again, thank you for being with me.
Voting is more than just a right, it's a powerful tool for change. Every vote counts and every voice matters. Voting protects your rights and helps to build a better future. And it's a way to hold our leaders accountable. Voting isn't just about the big elections either. Local elections impact our daily lives. It is important to study the candidates and the issues in order to make an informed decision. Election 2024. Don't sit it out. Your vote is your power. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.